Hey everyone, Dr. Zach Greenwade here at Performance Sport and Spine. In today's video, we're going to talk about how musculoskeletal pain is more than a damage meter. It's a very common belief that when we move or exercise, if we feel pain, that we should stop because the pain is indicative that we're causing damage to our body. However, it's more nuanced than that, and there's contextual factors that we need to be aware of. A systematic review by Smith et al. In 2017 found that painful exercises were actually superior to non-painful exercises in the short term, with no difference in moderate to long term. Now, this doesn't mean that exercises have to be painful, but it doesn't have to be a barrier either. So we need to distinguish between hurt versus harm, where hurt is more about tissue sensitivity or irritability, and harm is more about tissue damage. And lastly, this is assuming two things: that there's been no recent trauma or damage to the tissues, and you're not dealing with any sort of infections or pathology, and this is simply persistent or chronic musculoskeletal pain. So now we'll go over 4 criteria that you can help to differentiate between these two. So the first one is, does it affect or impair your daily activities, such as getting out of bed or getting out of a chair, getting dressed, or things such as cooking or eating. Now again, this can be mildly painful, but if it's stopping you from doing things, the pain's too much and you need to make note of that and probably change how much you're exercising or moving. So the second criteria is sleeping. If you have some mild discomfort, but it doesn't really prevent you from falling asleep and it doesn't wake you up at night, that's okay. Now if it starts to increase where you're having more trouble sleeping or it wakes you up several times, that's something to be aware of and you should adjust what you're doing. So the third criteria is the pain tolerable? Now this will be specific to each person and will be variable, but a good general guideline is if 0 is no pain and 10 is the worst pain possible, it shouldn't be above a 4 or 5, but if a 2 is all you can handle, that's fine. So sometimes it's hard to kind of put a numeric scale to your pain. And what I often tell my patients, if this is the case, is that just kind of think about the pain as if it's in the back of your mind or you go several hours without thinking about it, it's probably okay. But if it starts to kind of change what you're doing throughout the day, you're kind of actively only thinking about your pain, it's too high and you need to modify your exercises. The fourth criteria is, does the pain or symptoms resolve within 24 hours? So sometimes when we move or do exercises, the pain can be very intense or very exquisite, but not last very long, or the quality can be sharp and stabby, and that worries people. But if the pain dissipates quickly, it's probably unlikely that it causes tissue damage. On the opposite side, if you do an exercise or move and there is no pain, but the next morning you wake up and you're incredibly stiff and there's a lot of pain, that's your body saying you did too much, too fast, and you need to slow down and start at a lower level. Pain is amazingly complex, and there will always be scenarios where this is not applicable, but hopefully this provides some clarity and parameters to help differentiate between hurt and harm and modify accordingly. And lastly, as always, if you find this content helpful, we'd really appreciate if you like and subscribe to our channel, as it helps us reach a larger audience. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below or email us directly.